Everybody, it's me, Laura, the Eggcentric Egg Lady, and today we're going to be doing my egg design, Inspire Others by Being You, with a chicken eggshell. So right here, I'm going right after my sketchbook. We got to put the sketch in. I'm roughing it in. Notice I go really fast at first, and then I start to tighten up with my line as I go. Now I will admit here that I am not actually using my Tombow fine pencil, and that's okay. I wanted to use a 4H, and I can't remember what pencil type this is, but I wanted a lighter graphite on my rough sketch. And I really suggest whenever you do a rough sketch in your sketch pad, go with something light, and that's why I like to go to my H's. I have an affinity for those things. There's something about the H, end of the graphite scale that I really enjoy. Most people like their 2Bs, their Bs, like they like to go really, really dark. To me, the problem with going dark is that if you make a mistake, you're kind of stuck with it, especially if you're on the B side of the graphite scale. So I really like to go with my H here. This is a 4H. I really like it. It's a lighter kind of graphite when you put it down, but for me it just kind of helps alleviate. I don't want a really hard dark line yet because I want to make sure I get my rough sketch in first. Okay, so I'm bringing in my Uniball pen here, and I'm going to go ahead and start defining up each of my lines. So I've got kind of a rough sketch, but from here I just go in and start defining where that line might be and finalizing it where, okay, I like that, I'm going to go with that instead. So like right there, I didn't follow my rough line. I decided to do my own thing there, and I like doing that. That's just kind of like, okay, I got an idea, but from here, let me go ahead and finalize up what it's really going to look like. So you'll notice in here, I am going to be bringing in my checker pattern yet again. I really love the checker pattern just to be able to put that down into a lot of my designs. I'm planning to hopefully break that up a little bit, but sometimes it's just kind of like that go-to pattern that, okay, I know I can do this really well. It looks good in my designs, so I just have a constant thing of using this. So eventually, hopefully, I'll break my pattern and maybe not use the checker quite so much. Okay, so right in here, I'm going back over a lot of my lines already. I'm darkening them in, and I'm trying to kind of just giving them more oomph, more pizzazz. You know, the thing is when you do a light kind of pen sketch right away, you have a single line. And that single line is great, but it does not add any kind of emphasis. Where for me, I have to always go back in and I'm like going, let me add in, maybe thicken this line, thin it out, and so on. So, you know, when you go in to do your sketches and stuff, and, you know, maybe you're not doing this particular sketch, but let's say you want to go ahead and draw your own kind of design, I really believe in the idea of thickening and thinning my line. I hate to say it, but if you look at Walt Disney, you know, he was a master at being able to use a thick and thin line where it was needed. Another thing I really want to mention here is that I am drawing out my sketch ahead of time before I get to my eggshell design. And I'm doing that because if I have a general idea of what this is going to look like, this way then when I go into the eggshell, I'm like, okay, this is what it took, or this is how the pattern looked when I placed it down on paper. Now can we mimic that on eggshell? And a lot of times you can. It's almost like when you draw something the first time around, you know, it's your first time, okay? And anytime you go to draw something the next time around, even if it is on like a rounded surface like an egg, generally the design is going to be better than what you had previously. So keep that in mind. The practice thing, practice, 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 makes a huge difference. Okay, so here I'm going to start bringing in my Prismacolors, and I'm just going to let you guys know right off, I'm using my Prismacolor Premieres. They're numbers 133, 1022, 1087, 925, 939, 927, 1034, 916, 915, 909, 911, 989, and Slate Gray, which the slate gray had rubbed off because I love it so much and I use it a lot. So you might have to go look that one up. And you'll notice here that as I'm putting these colors down, that I do use my colorless blender to help blend them. That's what the bottom row is. I thought, okay, I'm gonna take some of my blues, I wanna blend it up, see what it looks like. Same with my red and my peach type here, along with my other colors. I wanted to see what the blend would look like. So it's kind of a nice way of being able to also keep track as to what kind of colors you used in your design if they're already on the page. Okay, so now we're going to move right to our eggshell, and I've got this is where my Tombow really comes in handy. I love the Tombow fine, and part of it is because it has such a nice dark line and it doesn't smudge or smear very easily. That's the nice thing about it. I want to have that darkness. It's kind of finding that, how do you say it, happy medium between not too light, but you want the dark tone as well. So this is where I had that compromise of like, okay, the fine is nice and dark, but at the same time though too, it doesn't smudge or smear as much when you're dealing with a little bit of a harder lead. Now right here, I wanted to show you guys, I'm penciling in my guidelines. Now, for those of you who haven't drawn much on eggshell, it's really nice to have an access, to have a, you know, for egg people, they pretty much know this. You know, you can use a rubber band or whatever to find where dead center is on your eggshell. There's a lot of different ways of being able to mark your egg. In this case, you know, I'm just drawing a simple, you know, axis of north, south, east, west, and then going off of that. For those of you who don't know, that is very common in egg world. You know, you want to go ahead and make sure you draw your, you know, where your center is, where your design is going to be planted. especially in this case because it's a little bit of a mandala, kind of a bit of a Zentangle bit kind of a thing. And this way then, if you have a good idea, especially on a rounded surface, because some people just don't understand, okay, on a rounded surface, how am I going to get this on there and make it look right? Okay, this really helps a lot. If you need to, you could even use a rubber band. Even with me holding on to this with my base, I could put a rubber band on this and it would give me a general sense of where the guideline is going to be. Okay, now for the fun part. We're going to start bringing in our Prismacolor Premier colored pencils. And I always like to start out kind of with my cool colors. I don't know, I'm a big blue person. I love my blues. So I'm going to start using that and I'm going to start blending in my blues right on those side triangles. It just seemed like a good place to start. Just as a general rule, when it comes to drawing any kind of thing, I like to start from a center moving outwards. And the reason for that is if you finish up your center, this way then you don't have to go back and touch it again, especially if it's going to smear or anything like that. And to keep the color pencil from smearing, other than using my brush like I did right there, where I'm just kind of like brushing away any kind of crumbs, this is a very good thing. You know, I'll use my blender also in here. Also, you guys, when it comes to the blending on Eggshell, you are going to naturally get crumbs, but the pigment will go down. So just understand that. And it's a different kind of texture other than paper, but I really love it. So, you know, try this out. You might find you really like that sort of thing. Okay, so I was bringing my colored pencils back in and I wanted to do just a quick blend just to make sure this is what I really wanted to bring in onto my eggshell. So have a scrap piece of paper nearby. So if you want to go ahead and do that blend, just to give yourself a really good sense as to what you want to put down, do that. Okay, so this was kind of a last minute thing. I thought I was going to stick with my Tombow and go with that as, you know, do a graphite instead of a marker. And, you know, I'm sorry, I can't help it. I love my Sharpie marker. And I just thought, no, I don't want to do graphite. I thought, let's go ahead, let's do the Sharpie marker. And a lot of this is just because I know with that Sharpie marker, I'm gonna get a nice, really dark black, more so than any graphite. And, you know, because if I go to if I go on onto the B side of the graphites, they can smudge, they can smear. No, I really like my marker. It seems to work really good. And just as an FYI, moving forward from here, this works okay with my varnish as well. So if you don't think, oh, well, you can't, no, you can. You can varnish over this. So not to fear. Okay, so you can really tell here that design looks good, and we're going to go ahead and varnish this piece. And, you know, again, I just love that dark Sharpie marker look. It looks really good on this egg. So right here, I'm going to go ahead and I'm taking a little bit of my water-based varnish, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to just lightly go over this, and you're going to notice it doesn't smear. The marker does pretty good with this, so keep that in mind. Okay, so from here, I'm just kind of going on the sides here. I'm going to start putting in that band, which is going to have my saying. I'll do that in my Sharpie marker. The one thing I didn't mention here was that you'll notice I'm wearing my cotton glove. Yes, wear your cotton glove because it's going to keep the oils of your hand off of this eggshell as you're putting down your design. So you really want to avoid that. From here though, like I said, I'm just kind of, and notice here I'm kind of writing this little line here. I'm trying to space out where the words are going to hit on this eggshell. I want them to be as centered as possible. So sometimes I'll have to go back in and it's like, okay, put it in. I'm like, oh, that didn't quite fit. So I'll have to erase it. I have to go back. But this way then it gives me an idea where that particular word will go, and so that it will look like it's more centered throughout. Okay, so right here I went over my pencil line. I'm going to have to go back in with my pencil and very gently take out any kind of graphite I get. Once I do that, we're going to go ahead and we're going to bring in probably that slate gray, which I love, I love, I love, I love. And we're going to kind of make that almost like a, what do you call it, like a background kind of color where the words are. I'm also going to come back in with my Sharpie marker and then my varnish and just kind of finish up this entire design. All right, so this is the end results of my Inspire Others by Being You with the egg and the sketch. I hope you guys will use this for study and reference. And if you like this video, please like, subscribe, and leave me a comment. I'm always wondering what you're thinking. Otherwise, I'm sending out my biggest hugs to each of you, and I hope you have a fantastic Eggcentric Egg Lady day.